Hi everyone, I wanted to make a video showing a few different Corydoras habitats. If you're interested to watch more, check out the Corydoras playlist on this channel or the links in the description. There are videos with more details on many of these species. Also, if you're wondering what happened to the name Corydoras, it's been split into a bunch of new genera, and there's a video in the links that shows how the new names are applied. If you have seen all the Corydoras videos, there's new footage in this one, so it may still show you something you're interested in. The first place I want to show is a wonderful clear water river in Bolivia. In the strong flow in the center, the substrate consists of fine silica sand, but along the margins, there's an ankle-deep layer of fine debris. Any movement kicks up this fine material and it becomes difficult to film anything. This habitat is home to both Osteogaster aenea, the common green cory, and Hoplisoma polystictum, although they managed to avoid getting in front of the camera for the video. The two species actually school together in mixed groups. The cories like the shallow water, where there are less predators like the Acestorhynchus. The shallow water has some riparian vegetation and a lot of branches of trees that have fallen in the water. There are many Bujarquina and Satanoperca here, and there will be some video footage of these cichlids in the future. Next, let's look at Corydoras geoffroy, one of the most challenging and rare species that still remains in the genus Corydoras. These are true rainforest fish that live in shallow blackwater creeks deep in the forest. The problem for fish like these is that these creeks are also vulnerable to the effects of gold mines and of course deforestation. This habitat has much more flow and a hard-packed substrate of silica sand and iron ore pebbles. This habitat is shallow, but the margins are covered by ferns and other plants. Finding or catching cories here is not easy, and the geoffroy are excellent swimmers that flee to the deeper pools the moment they are approached. In the longer video found in the description, you'll also see that there are relatively few fish in this habitat. This habitat in Bolivia is quite typical for Osteogaster aenea, the green cory, and I think the most common species in our aquariums. At this time of the year it is in peak dry season, making the water flow much less than it would be for most of the year, and also extremely shallow. Other than Astyanax, the cories are the most common fish here. The substrate here is a mix of fine sand, pebbles, and some boulders up to about the size of a football, but there is also plenty of exposed bedrock. In the dry season, algae grows on the solid surfaces, and a layer of debris settles where the current is less strong. The moment the water levels rise, all this organic material will get blown off the surfaces, and I'm sure other fish will migrate upstream from the swampland with deeper water that is found in the valley below. In this year of extreme drought, the lowland habitats were nearly standing still and were not clear enough to get any video, but keep in mind that all these places are also dynamic and that the seasonal changes that occur in the northern hemisphere also occur here. This beautiful creek may be gone by the dam that was built on this sector of the Telespires River. These small creeks dewater the surrounding hills that are mostly converted as soybean fields and cattle ranches, but in the valleys there are still places with very clear water. This creek is home to Aymara wolffish, Corcolonichthys, Leperinus, Metinus, Monkhausia, Bruconops, Hufesobrucon, Cnodus, and Crinicycla. The current here is extremely strong, even in the margins where water rushes through the dense aquatic plants. It slows down only on the inside of the bends where sand is deposited and forms very shallow areas. This is the most extreme situation, but it's not that rare. This habitat is just off the foothills of the Andes and the Colombian Llanos. For most of the year, plenty of water flows off the mountains and through this habitat. You can see the water has carved through the topsoil and created a deep canyon, about 3 meters or 10 feet deep. In the rainy season, water will flow right up to the top. But in this kind of peak dry season, water remains only in the deepest pools. Most of the river has now stopped flowing altogether, and you can see the round boulders that make up the substrate are completely dry. These last bits of water are well shaded, and it is a race of time to see if the rain starts soon enough to save the fish that are stuck in these puddles, or if it gets delayed any longer and all of these fish will dry out. Many tetras, the cories, apistogramma, and other cichlids all await the rainy season here. Corydoras, as air breathers, could be among the last to survive this situation. Scleromystax has been separated from the genus Corydoras for a long time, and while we normally just see Scleromystax barbatus in the hobby, there's around a dozen species. All of these fish come from the Atlantic coast of Brazil. This shallow stream has a brown sand substrate with few rocks and some riparian vegetation along the edges.
This entry point is near a small bridge, and sunlight enters the water. Up and downstream, it's in dense forest, and the river is mostly shaded. In the dry season, the water is shallow, less than knee-deep in most places, and just downstream of the bridge, a bend has created a shallow beach area, where leaves and small branches have assembled just off the current. Some tuberfex worms occur in this area, and the Scleromystax search this sector to catch the worms. You will notice the males are not only larger, but also have much longer dorsal and pectoral fins. This habitat has few other fish, only some tetras that look like slender Hephaessobruchon, some loricaria, and many tadpoles. There's an extended video for this species, as for most of the habitats shown here, if you want to see more footage of this beautiful fish. Let's take you back to Suriname, to the far south of the country, where the forest is untouched and many Corydoras species occur in the clear water streams and rivers of this region. The headwaters of the rivers have clear water in the dry season, but getting there is not easy. It takes a chartered flight and several days by dugout canoe to reach this area. In the small creeks and even the main river, we can observe Hoplisoma breei alongside other catfish and cichlids. The substrate here consists of very fine sand. Sticks, branches, palm fronds, seed pods, and leaves get tangled together in the river bank. This complex tangle is the ideal place for small fish, and we find Rhinoloricaria stewarti, Siphocharex spiloris, Gianacaras venesona, Hypomasticus desbaxi, and Hoplisoma breei. All these fish search for food along the soft substrate of the riverbank. This kind of habitat is easier to recreate and a lot more like an aquarium, except for the current. Even in this place, with the relatively light material and lightweight wood and organic debris, there is enough current to allow rheophile species like the Hypomasticus to thrive. Onto the other side of the Guyana Shield, this river comes off the tabletop mountains, then flows north into the Orinoco. Lots of fish can enter the lowland Orinoco sector, and they can swim upstream right to the pool where the water cascades off the shield into a huge waterfall. Once at the waterfall, there is a large rubble field with fewer fish able to climb the series of pools and very fast water that flows over the bedrock at the base. We made a video about this place, and it's one of the most popular videos for us because it shows 30 or so species that all occur together in this place. Just below the pool at the bottom, the river widens and enters more dense forest. Below the pool, fine white sand gets pushed up and water rushes over that fine sand, bringing lots of debris from the waterfall. This is where we can find the Corydoras. In very shallow water, only knee-deep at most. That makes sense because in this place there are loads of piranhas and peacock bass and certainly other nocturnal predators. So these smaller fish have to stay in the shallow zone where there is less danger. This fish may be another new species of Corydoras, but it's most similar to Corydoras septentrionalis. Check out the longer video to see all the other fish in this place. Let's head south to look at one of my favorites, Hoplisoma concolor, because it's kind of a chunky, large cory that is not too expensive and available in most places. It's also in the same habitats as the cardinal tetra, and in this river also alongside altum angels. People always ask about getting fish that occur with these key aquarium species, and this is also a great looking fish. The habitat is a small river just near the town of Puerto Ayacucho in Venezuela. My cardinal footage from there is a little different because this river has more silt. It is not as clear as the stream we used for the cardinal tetra video. Instead, it is much larger and kind of fast flowing. It has a strong bend near the bridge because this whole region has these gigantic granite boulders. First thing I saw was a snake, hunting for fish that passed by. I wonder if it would eat a Corydoras. The cories are on that bedrock sheet, and in the analog days in the early 90s I got great photos of large Corydoras concolor, but this time with the video camera there were only juveniles that were feeding on the biocover that grows on the shallow sector of the granite bedrock. They were in constant motion and really not easy to film. I don't think most people would expect these young Corydoras to live in such strong current. Interestingly, the larger adults are in deeper water and don't really form large groups. They tend to be in troops of 3 to 6 individuals. My guess is that with the onset of the rainy season, huge schools of these cories will migrate upstream to breed. Finally, let's look at a very different habitat. This is a tannin-stained river in the Orinoco Delta, and we made a nice video on the fish found here. To find Corydoras, in this case Hoplisoma melanistium, is not so easy. because they aren't in the main flow of the river. They are kind of hidden away with tadpoles and a ton of Pristella tetras and flag cichlids under the water lilies on the slow-moving side of the river. There's a small shelf of sand just before the river drops off into much deeper water, and when there's little disturbance, the Corydoras feed out on the sand shelf. If they are approached, they flee back to the safety of the dense plants and water lilies. If you imagine the predators here, mostly pike cichlids and piranhas, they would have a hard time navigating these dense plants, and if they move around too much, the debris would cloud the water, perfect for the cories to get away. This kind of setup would look nice in an aquarium, and black shoulder Hoplisoma melanistium, golden Pristella, farlowella, and flag cichlids of the genus Mesonauta would also be super easy to get fish. The water lilies Cabomba and Vallisneria that grow in higher current are also easy to find. Check out the other video to see the deeper sector of this river. Well, I hope you all got some Corydoras aquascaping ideas from this video. Make sure to check out the longer versions of some of these clips. All the links are in the description, and check out the Corydoras playlist on the channel.